Hey everyone, welcome to Sidetrack Adventures. This is Steve. Today we're on Route 66, and while most of Route 66 is great, I especially love the parts of the highway that take a completely different route than the interstates that bypass them, because it seems like on those parts of the road, time has moved a little bit more slowly. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be taking the highway from Victorville to Barstow, traveling the Mother Road through the high desert. Route 66 is the most famous highway in the United States. It travels from Chicago to Los Angeles and has been called the Main Street of America and the Mother Road. But the highway was officially decommissioned in 1985. Route 66 in this part of California was officially bypassed even further back, in 1964. Unlike other segments where interstates closely followed the highway's original course as they replaced them, this portion through the desert between Victorville and Barstow was never replaced, only bypassed. That is the section of historic Route 66 we will be exploring today. We are starting our road trip today at the California Route 66 Museum here in Victorville, which in my opinion is a really good Route 66 museum. I was just saying what a good Route 66 museum this is, and then we come across this map, which is completely in reverse. For some reason, Chicago is in the west, and then when we pan to the east, here we are in Victorville. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, though, and just assume that the painter was upside down when he painted this. There is so much stuff in here. You can easily spend hours here looking at everything. Hulaville, or Mahan's Half Acre, was kind of a folk art attraction that was south of here on Route 66. It was around from 1955 to 1997, and the museum has preserved a lot of its signs. The building that the museum is in was originally built in the 1930s and was the Red Rooster Diner. After the building sat vacant for a few years, it was turned into a museum in 1995. Here's Roy Rogers and Dale Evans. They have a bit of a Route 66 connection, so we'll get back to them a little bit later on this trip. This museum is like Route 66 itself. You never know what you're going to find. For example, meet automobile. Like I said, I could spend hours here, but now it's time for us to get our kicks on Route 66. And you won't believe how many takes it has taken to time this sign. We're passing through Old Town Victorville on our way out of town. Victorville began in 1858 as Lane's Crossing, and then in the 1880s, California Southern Railroad built a railroad siding they called Victor near here, complete with a telegraph station, and a town was built up around it. In 1901, the post office changed the name from Victor to Victorville because there was already a Victor, Colorado, and they wanted to avoid confusion. While the Old Town area seems to have seen better days, Victorville has grown pretty rapidly over the years. When Route 66 was established in 1926, there were maybe 1,000 people living here, and when the city was incorporated in 1962, the population was only a little over 8,000. Now, it's well over 130,000. Coming up on our right is a cement plant. This opened in 1916, but it's only the second oldest cement plant we'll see today. We're making a quick stop at Emma Jean's Holland Burger. This cafe opened in 1947, making it the oldest restaurant in Victorville. It was owned by Bob and Kate Holland and was built using cinder blocks made at the cement plant we just passed. A driver who worked at the cement plant for 31 years, Richard Gentry, would stop here all the time, and his wife Emma Jean was a longtime waitress here. So in 1979, Richard bought the restaurant for his wife and was renamed Emma Jean's Holland Burger Cafe. I believe it's still owned by the family today. It's an extremely popular stop, and every time we come by, there seems to be a line to get in. This cafe has also made appearances in a bunch of movies over the years. In Kill Bill Volume 2, this is the cafe that Uma Thurman walks into and asks for a glass of water after she punches herself out of being buried alive. Some of the power lines we're about to cross under originate at the Hoover Dam on the Colorado River. It's amazing to think that for decades, most traffic between Southern California and Las Vegas was on this road. This really cool bridge that we're approaching was built in 1932 and crosses the Mojave River. The Route 66 Easy Guide says it's a modified Baltimore Truss Bridge. We'll be pretty much following the course of the Mojave River from here on, but this is the only time we'll be crossing it. The Mojave River actually has a bit of water above ground here. Normally most of the water is underground and you don't see much more than sand along the course of it, but there are a few spots where water is accessible. This area is also where Lane's Crossing was first settled, and the water is the reason for that. Since we'll be following the course of the Mojave River, there will be green trees on our left for a lot of the way. Not something you really expect when driving through the desert. We are now in Oro Grande, and this is the Antique Station, which is a huge antique store. It's another place you could really spend a lot of time looking around. Gold was found in this area in 1880, and this town sprung up. It was called Oro Grande after the name of the first mine in the area, but when the post office was established in 1881, the town was listed as Halleck. Despite the official name being Halleck, everyone still called this place Oro Grande, and I guess the Postal Service just gave up, because in 1927, the post office was renamed to Oro Grande. We have another cement company coming up on our right. This one's even older than the last one we passed, having opened in 1907. This company did a lot of the original paving for Route 66 in the area. We have what remains of a 1940s era motel here. This was the Motor Inn Auto Court and Trailer Park. When it was in operation, it included a grocery store, a restaurant, and a Richfield gas station. A lot of people seem to think that this underpass coming up is where Sammy Davis Jr. had the accident that cost him his eye. But that actually happened in Devore at the bottom of the Cajon Pass. Years ago, I did a video showing the location where it happened, and I'll put a link to that in the description. People have been traveling through this area for centuries. The path of the Mojave River was part of an ancient trade route that Native Americans living on the Colorado River and the Pacific Coast would use to trade with one another, called the Mojave Trail. Then when Europeans arrived to the area, the Spanish and then later American pioneers also followed this route. When Jedediah Smith followed it westward into California in 1826, he named it Inconstant River. John C. Fremont renamed it to the Mojave River in 1844, after the Mojave people that lived nearby. We're a little bit off Route 66 right now, but this is the Roy Rogers Double R Bar Ranch. Roy Rogers was known as the King of the Cowboys, and at one point was arguably one of the most famous Western stars in the country. He was the top money-making Western star from 1943 to 1954, at a time when Westerns were at the height of their popularity. This ranch dates back to the 1950s, but Rogers, along with his wife Dale Evans, who was also a star in her own right, purchased it in 1965. They owned the ranch until Roy passed in 1998, and then Dale died in 2001. Since then, the ranch has been owned by a number of different groups. It does have a website, but there's no information on visiting, so unfortunately, it looks like we're stuck looking at the fence today. Despite what the sign says, we aren't quite at Barstow yet. This is Elmer's Bottle Tree Ranch, and this is probably the most popular stop along this section of Route 66. This was created by Elmer Long in 2000, and there are over 200 bottle trees here with thousands of bottles. It is basically a forest of bottles. After creating his first tree, Elmer continued to add to this place up until his death in 2019. It's now run by his family, and it's free to enter, and it's open from dawn to dusk. Aside from bottles, there are all sorts of other knickknacks here. You can pretty much find everything but the kitchen sink. And to be fair, I believe this is a bathroom sink. It looks like there's lots of replacements in case there's any breakages. Someone really shot this stop sign up. Well, I guess that explains it. Now, will you like this place if you visit? That really hinges on things. This place is incredible and well worth the stop. We actually did a full video on it a while back, and I'll put a link to that in the description as well. Alright, I think it's time we get back on the road before my wife snaps from all the bad jokes. Coming up on our left is a place known as Sagebrush Annie's. This was the Sagebrush service station opened by Bessie and George Siebert. Bessie was given the name Sagebrush Annie after the movie Tugboat Annie. Construction began on this place in 1931, and by 1934 it had expanded to become the Sagebrush Roadhouse. This was said to be the place for dancing, gambling, drinking, and hiring a lady of the night, so to speak. Apparently it got pretty wild here. There was an incident in 1938 where one woman tried to beat another woman to death with an ashtray. Reportedly, the victim danced with the attacker's man. Bessie ended up running this place until her death in 1970 at age 88, years after Route 66 had been bypassed. Right across the street from Sagebrush Annie's is the Red Hen Cafe, and this is where we're going to get lunch today. We've never eaten here before, but as the sign says, there's no other place anywhere near this place, so this must be the place. Today, it's the place. So I got the tuna melt, and despite it being lunchtime, my wife got some sort of omelet. Lunch ended up being pretty good. If you're passing through the area, this is definitely a good place to stop and get something to eat. It's also the only place, but at least the only place ended up being a good place. This is an old Richfield station. A while back somebody was trying to restore it, but it looks like they gave up on that. The gas station here is long gone, but the sign has been restored. Polly the Parrot was the mascot for Wilshire Oil from 1914 to about 1960. I'm not sure what date the price is being advertised are from, but it certainly isn't now. This was J.W. Burden's store and post office, and was built in 1926. This store was once the center of town for Helendale, but as traffic dried up on Route 66, the town kind of just moved to the west, closer to the river. It would be great to see a place like this restored, but I'm sure the cost for it would be so high, it makes it unlikely that would ever happen. Now that we've passed Helendale, the road is going to get a lot more desolate. Even during the highway's heyday, there wasn't much between here and Barstow. Well, it wasn't completely empty out here. It looks like there used to be a service station here, though there isn't much left of it. This is really out in the middle of nowhere, so this was probably one of those places that was hoping to catch people that either didn't know that Helendale was coming up, or had just passed Helendale and didn't realize there was going to be no other opportunities for gas anywhere soon. These may have been the restrooms here, though there's no window on the right, so that may have been a closet or where the safe was. I'm not 100% sure on that. I don't know anything about this place. We just came across it, so I don't know when this was in operation and when it shut down. But it definitely hasn't been here for some time. I'm going to start a conspiracy theory here. This service station was right on Route 66, but if we turn around and look the other direction, way off in the distance, I'm not sure if it comes up on the camera or not, but those buildings way out there, that is Lockheed's top secret radar testing facility. Obviously, they're not doing a great job of keeping it secret because we know about it, but who knows what kind of things we're seeing here. It looks like this dirt road by the ruins heads right out to it. Before this was Route 66, this was National Old Trails Road, and if you look at road maps from the early 1900s, the road is pretty much unchanged. I can't imagine driving through this barren desert in an early 1900s automobile. Driving was much more of an adventure back then, that's for sure. We're coming into the small farming community of Hodge now. This place has had quite a few names over the years. In 1863, it was founded as Cottonwoods. Then in 1885, when it became a railroad stop, it was Penn City. Then it was Hicks, then Pallister, and finally Hodge in 1925. The town gained some fame in the 1930s, when Ripley's Believe It or Not claimed the town's post office at 6 by 8 feet, was the smallest federal building in the United States. That post office is long gone now, though. I just stopped because there was a monument here that talked about a lot of the different roads that came through this area, but it looks like the monument has gone missing. I just noticed next to where these monuments used to be, we have this thing here, and I have no idea what this would have been used for. It looks like it could have been used for some sort of storage, but it's partitioned off. There's 4 separate sections with some chicken wire down at the bottom. It's currently open on the top, but it does look like there used to be a roof here. But it looks like this will close. I'm going to use my foot in case there's a snake or something under here that doesn't bite me in the hand. Yeah, it closes. If you know what this would have been used for, let me know in the comments. This is also where National Trails Highway becomes Main Street as we get closer to Barstow. We've now made it to Linwood, which is actually part of Barstow, and this is the old Dunes Motel. I'm not exactly sure when this was built, but based on the architecture, it looks to be from the 1940s. The sign has seen better days, though, but I'm actually kind of surprised at the lack of graffiti on it. Unfortunately, there's not a place for me to pull over and get a better look, but on the right there's another 1940s era motel, the Dewdrop Inn. Now that we've reached Barstow, we'll be passing quite a few 1940s to 1960s era motels. Barstow made a great stop on Route 66 because you were about a day away from Los Angeles. Now it takes maybe 3.5 hours depending on traffic. Barstow is also known for their murals along Route 66, and I believe there are over 30 murals on the road now. I think this one's my favorite among all the murals here in Barstow. I really like the art style on it. It's unfortunate that there's a little bit of graffiti on it, but to be honest, in this part of town, if this mural wasn't here, this wall would be covered with nothing but graffiti. Route 66 doesn't travel through the best part of town. And as this mural says, Barstow was originally called Waterman Junction and was renamed in 1886 for William Barstow Strong, who was the president of the Santa Fe Railroad. And the murals here are so popular, here's a mural about the murals. Apparently every mural has a rabbit hidden in it, though some I'm not too sure about. The El Rancho Barstow, which was built in the 1940s, was one of the most famous Route 66 hotels in the state, but unfortunately, it burned down in 2022. Only the sign and a few walls are left. It looks like a few guests are staying on the property still. Route 66 continues through downtown Barstow, but we're going to make a turn here. We're passing by the oldest operating Del Taco. This wasn't the first one, but it was among the first ones built. The first one was actually in Yermo, but that location closed long ago. Because it's the oldest Del Taco, supposedly it has some special menu items that you can't find anywhere else. We are a few blocks off Route 66 now, and this building was originally built in 1911 as Casa del Desierto, a Harvey House hotel and Santa Fe Railroad depot. Harvey Houses were a chain of hotels and restaurants alongside railroads in the western United States from the late 1800s to the mid 1900s. They were named for Fred Harvey, who started the company in 1876 to cater to the growing number of railroad passengers. Usually, when you come across an old Harvey House building, they really stand out, and this one is no exception. These places were built to be remembered. The Santa Fe Railroad closed this station in 1973, and in the 1990s, the city of Barstow bought it. They have a few offices here, and there's also a train museum. There was a Route 66 museum, though I'm not sure if it's still in operation. The sign on the door for it wasn't clear, but it's not open today in any case. This place is also still in use as a train station, as Amtrak does stop here. While the Harvey House isn't exactly on Route 66, it just felt like an appropriate place to end our journey today. So that's our look at Route 66 from Victorville to Barstow. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and we'll see you next week.